Welcome to Knitted Paradise, where the needles are clicking and the yarn is squishy. My name is Lucia, I'm your hostess, and you can find me on Ravelry and Instagram as Pearl of the Pacific. This is episode 20, entitled The Dreaded Swatch, which you will see why it's entitled that later on. But let's get right into it. It's been a pretty uneventful 2 weeks. I guess, I did record last week and my camera decided to not like me and cut off a good portion of the podcast. So you may see bits of it interspersed because there were a few finished items that were given away. And so I do have recording of them. So I might put that in here somewhere. But for some reason I had 40 minutes of recording and it only did 11. And then I tried it again and it did the same thing. So I gave up because I didn't have another convenient time to podcast until now. So it is Monday. It's St. Patrick's Day. Happy St. Patrick's Day. I am wearing lots of green. I decided to be green-tastic today. I tend to dress in one color because it makes it easier. I do mix colors, I promise. I do know how to match colors. But I tend to, wear green socks and, if it's winter, then I'll wear green tights and then I'll wear, a green undershirt and then a green button-up shirt and then a green sweater. And I make sure they're all compatible shades of green, but, I happen to have a lot of green things. I have red hair, so I have a lot of green things. That's the way it is. And my shirt has bikes on it. I don't know if you can see them. From far away, they kind of look like limes, but they're actually bikes. It's kind of fun. I have a scarf that matches it too. I wore that today. Hello, Pan. You may make an appearance. I'm sitting in the living room today because now that the sun sets later. Oh, you want your cat toy. Is that what you want? Let me show it really quick and then you can have it. It's kind of gross. I'm sorry. I made him this TARDIS mouse this weekend and now he really wants it. I filled it with catnip, so you ready? Ready? Okay. Anyway, that's one of my finished objects. I had to steal it away from him to show it, and now he really wants it back, so he can go play with that now. He would barely let me finish it. He really likes it. I mean, I filled it with catnip, so I kind of hedged the bet in my direction, but still. He really loves that thing. As you can see, it's now covered in cat hair and there are bits coming off of it already, and it's been 48 hours, I think. He's rubbing his face in it right now on the floor. He's pretty cute. Anyway. But yes, I'm in the living room because the sun sets later now, and so there's daylight when I get home. So I thought, hey, I'll record while it's still daylight. And, ooh. You okay, buddy? You just got shocked from rolling around on the carpet. Alright, well, let's go into Blow the Conch Shell. We have the March Knit Along going, March Knit Along going, which the color this month is green. So any project you knit that is mostly green, that is 50% or more of the colors in it are green. Any shade of green, I don't really care. But either knit or crochet or hand spun, or I'll even take sewing, like fibery related things, so project bags or something to that extent, notions, pouches, things like that, or weaving, I'll take that too. But yeah, as long as 50% or more of it is green. Anyway, you're gonna knock all this down? The cat is precariously walking over here. You can't really see him, but he's there. Alright, he's gonna perch by the window. That's good. Alright. We can't keep very much on the windowsills because he likes sitting by the window. We're okay with that because that keeps him occupied and not trying to think about eating our birds. So we're okay with that. Alright, so I'm getting very distracted. I'm sorry. Alright, Blow the Conch Shell announcements. March Knit Along is going along. Shades of green. Put your finished objects in the thread in the Ravelry group. And tag your project KPMAR14. That's just for easy searching. Yes, and the skein, the prize will be a skein of Knit Picks Stroll in Pacific Blues. Because April, the color is blue, so get your blue stuff ready for April. Next announcement, we reached 50 members in the Ravelry group. Woo! I'm really excited about that. I may or may not do a drawing at the end of the episode. The problem is that I can't, there aren't easy numbers, so I have to print out your names or write out all of your names and draw one at random. Because I did do one for 25. I may wait till 75. Maybe we'll do that. We'll wait till 75 and then I'll do another drawing for a pattern. That's what I did last time. But yeah, that's really exciting. I thought I was excited about 25. I'm really excited about 50. Yay! And I think we have about 75 subscribers on YouTube. So, that's awesome. That's the best way to see me. That's the highest quality of video. I do also upload to Vimeo, but the video quality isn't as good because they don't let me upload as large a file as YouTube does. So, and I may have found a way to get myself on iTunes. But I have to find a time to meet with someone on how to do that. And my time is very limited right now, so. But keep that in mind. I will be coming to iTunes very shortly. Hopefully within the next month. We'll see. Anyway, moving on to On the Island, because you're here to see knitting, right? Not hear me babble. Let's start, I'll just start with the top of my list. The York Mittens by Mariana Wegener out of Shibui Baby Alpaca DK in Mineral. These have gone in and out of timeout or the naughty chair a few times. Oh, they're in the bag with something else that's not being worked on. And that's getting in the way. Hold on. So here is one. Gosh, there's stuff everywhere. And this is one of the mittens. Here, let me put it on. This is the left hand, I think. No. Yeah. No, this is the right hand. I lied. But they look fine on. I had some issues with the fingers because I did some increases around here, but I didn't pick up enough stitches for the fingers. I had picked up I think 14 and I really needed 18. So I had to rip a few fingers out and redo them. But they fit fine now, and you'll see on the other one I have picked up, it's all tangled, picked up along the back of the hand, and I'm knitting a flip top. But I realized this one is way too narrow, like I originally thought the glove was, but it actually is okay. So I'm in the process of ripping these back and knitting a few more rows before I do the decreases. I'm going to put them on. It's not terrible, but they're not for me. They're for a friend of mine. They match the Hues of Lothlorien hat that I finished. But they're just a little tight right here. So I'm going to knit a few more rows in stockinette and then do the decreases. But they're coming along. They're really soft and really warm, which is what she wanted them for running, so they're perfect. So those are coming along, and those are on size 3s, my Michigan wooden twisty needles. If I can get them off. Alright. Oh, there's something else in here. A little show and tell. These are the second socks I ever knit. And they are Hermione's Everyday Socks, except I knit them toe up. I decided after my first pair, which I knit top down one at a time, that I never wanted to knit things top down anymore because I was so paranoid about running out of yarn that I did a shorter leg. It's a decent leg, but it's not really as long as I like it, especially for boots. And so these, I found a pattern, learned how to do the toe, followed the stitch pattern for Hermione's everyday socks, found a toe up heel with a heel flap, did that, and then just knit and did some increases on the back of the leg so that they fit around my calf, and they're fantastic. And they were in this bag because I got a hole in one of them. It was right here on the edge. So I had just a little bit of extra yarn and I just darned it up. It's not very obvious. It was a pretty small hole. I caught it early, but I haven't been wearing them. There's a little show and tell. I just happened to take this bag to work on the gloves, and so I just threw these in to finish them, during my lunch period or something. So there is a thread in the Ravelry group called "What Do You Want to Hear About?" and I put it there to get ideas from you guys about things you want me to talk about, especially in the flora and fauna section or in the From My Holly section. I have something for today, but someone posted in there some very helpful things, so thank you. And they wanted to know a little bit more about how I do my toe-up socks 2 at a time. So I'm going to get that. That reminded me, those socks, because I knit them toe-up 2 at a time. Because I didn't like knitting them 1 at a time, top down. So that'll be another day. Today is about swatches. So that's the mittens. I have the Chimera cardigan, which I will talk about later because that's what the swatch was for. The Gryffindor scarf is Cascade 220 in Maroon and Goldenrod. And when I recorded last time, the one that went up last, I was here. When I recorded last time, the technical difficulties one that's not going anywhere, I was here. So between episode 19 and 20, I've gone from here to here. And it's just stockinette in the round. It's really simple, and I just kind of fly through it. I often do it for mindless TV knitting. And the thing is big at this point, so it doesn't really leave the house. The yarn is housed in my Harry Potter bag, but the project doesn't fit in it anymore, but I just keep the yarn in there, and it's perfect. So, and I wound up some more yarn for it this weekend, because once I finish mine, then I need to make one for my husband. That's been on the needles for ever, I think at least a year, but it took a long break. And I decided, you know what, I need to just finish it. So that's that. I started a couple pairs of socks. We will start with the Simple Skip socks by Adrienne. And these I'm doing as part of a knit along, I guess you'd call it. A knit together, really. Mel from the Single Handed Knits podcast did a Friendship February knit along, knit together thing where you find a partner and you swap not a whole skein but part of a skein of yarn, and you knit socks for yourself using some of their yarn. So I swapped with someone who lives in California because I talked to her yesterday. Hi, if you ever watch. And she said it was really warm there, and I was really jealous because it was really cold here. But she sent me some Knit Picks Stroll, and the colorway is escaping me. I have it written down somewhere, and I don't remember. But it's pretty blues and greens and purples. So this is what I'm using for the heels and toes. And I've already done the toes, and my yarn is Dyeabolical Strong Arm Skinny. Yes, in Rock and Roll. And it's pretty similar. It's brighter blues and black and purple, brighter purple. So they're pretty similar, but not quite. This one's a little more vibrant. And this one's a little more subdued. And this one has green in it. The Knit Picks has green, whereas this one doesn't. And I'm in the middle. I've turned one heel. So here they are. They're turning out really well. They're really pretty. And they're really comfortable. So I did the toe. Oops. Get that cat hair off there. I did the toe in the Knit Picks. And then I switched to the Dyeabolical. And then I've turned one heel in the Knit Picks. And I did a little gusset on the bottom of the heel. You can kind of see it. It's where it puckers just a little bit. And I did the Fish Lips Kiss heel. And what I did is I didn't go all the way to the end. I left a few stitches there, which I just decreased as a small gusset to make up for the ones I increased on the bottom. And I just started the second heel. Sorry, there's yarn things everywhere. It's the problem when you switch colors. Here we go. I just started to turn the second heel on my way home. So I took the train home today because Jeremy has rehearsal. So that's why I get to record, because he's not home for the evening. So those are coming along. Those are in my yarn pop bag. And yeah, it's great. I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying the pattern. I've had it in my queue for a while, and my new knitting friend suggested it because she put her yarn up on the thread and said, I want to try this pattern. I said, I've been wanting to try that pattern too, so let's swap yarn and knit along. And it's been great. We've chatted on the phone a couple times, and it's been really fun to talk to someone about knitting and have them not be bored. I love my husband, but he can only hear me talk about knitting for so long. It's just not the same. He loves it, and he loves hearing me get excited about knitting, so that's really nice. But it's nice to talk to someone who knows what you're talking about, and you can bounce ideas off of and things like that. So that's been really fun. What else do I have? I started another pair of socks because I wanted to have more than one, because if I just had those, they'd probably be done already, and I wanted them to last a little longer. I'm okay with that. Oh, that's not the right bag. That's something else. I started the Flying Dutchman socks by Kaua Coffee. I'm not sure how you pronounce that. And these are out of the Loopy You Seasoning Series in Icicles. So the Loopy You Seasoning Series works that they send you a full skein, and then they send you a coordinating skein for heels and toes and cuffs and things. So this is the full skein. As I've talked about before, I wind it into 2 cakes, one for each sock, but I leave them connected. So I have 2 center pole balls, but at the end I only have 1 scrap, which is fantastic. I don't have to keep track of 2 of them. So that's it. It's just shades of blue. Dark blue, light blue, white. It's very pretty. And the coordinating skein is this dark blue. So it pulls the dark out, which is perfect. So, shove these back into the bag. These are the socks. I started them yesterday, and they're coming along. They seem a little big, and I'm using a size 1.5, which is what I usually use for my husband, but they seem really big and really kind of loose gauge. I'm going to have him try them on when he gets home and see how they feel. And if they seem too big, I'm gonna rip them out and start them again on a size 1. But for now, they're looking pretty good. This is just marking which one is this is the top. So I know this is the beginning of the round because the foot is all in stockinette. So I had no way of keeping track of which one was which sock. So those cast on yesterday, and those will fly along because they're just stockinette, but I thought it's nice to have those for work meetings and things. And the last thing I have on the needles, can you tell that I cast a lot of things on this week? I knit in batches, and this is my cast on-itis week of doing things. I cast on the Brush Creek Cowlet by Karina Spencer, and the yarn is Fireweed Dyeworks. And I had her, this is a custom order, I had her dye up a gradient. She does do gradients. This wasn't one that she had. I mean, it was a colorway she had, but I didn't see it in a gradient, so I had her dye it up for me. It's called Forget Me Not. It's very bright and very cheery, and I love it. It starts with a purple, if this camera will ever focus. Maybe. It starts with a nice purple, goes into blue, and then green, and then this bright yellow. I'm trying to block my face in hopes that maybe it'll focus. If I stick it right up in it. There you go. So that's it. And I'm in the purple right now. I just cast this on at lunch, so I'm not very far. But that's it so far. Ta-da! And what it means by a cowlet, it's the same designer that did Zuzu's Petals. So it's a cowl because, you know, it goes around your neck. But it looks like you're wearing a shawl, but without having to position it. You just plop it over your head and it drapes down nice and pretty. So, I'm excited. I love gradients. I've never actually knit with one. I've been saving this. I bought this probably a year ago. I've been saving it for just the right thing. And I thought about doing Zuzu's Petals, but this uses more yarn, more yardage, and if I did Zuzu's Petals, I don't think I'd get to the yellow, whereas now I think I'll get to the yellow. I apologize, I don't have a picture of it. But you can look it up. Brush Creek Cowlet. It's a fairly new pattern, I think she just put out. And yeah, I'm really excited about that. So that's it for On the Needles. A lot, I know. But they all kind of have different purposes. Like the Gryffindor scarf stays at home. Stockinette socks are great for, you know, travel knitting that I don't have to pay attention to. The cowlet I do have to pay attention to, so that might be bedtime knitting or lunchtime knitting for a little while. And the sweater, which I will get to in a little bit, is kind of, it's at a pause point, I guess. You'll see in a second. Set sail. I finished the Hues of Lothlorien hat. I don't think you ever saw it in progress because I knit it in about a day and a half. It's really quick. I did it out of the same yarn as the Mittens, the Shibui Baby Alpaca DK, and I held a double because the pattern called for a bulky, and that's a DK, and I held a double, and it is perfect. My best friend loves it. It fits her great. She's worn it, I think, every day since I've given it to her, so that makes me really happy. And it's really warm and really cozy and squishy and soft, and I love that yarn. I will probably be buying some to make myself something out of. I might insert some footage here of me showing it that I recorded last week when I attempted to record. Or you can look on my Ravelry projects page, it's there too. The other thing I finished was the TARDIS mouse, which you saw before the cat stole it. I also finished a test heel. I'll talk about in a second. And I knit a bookmark. I needed some green things, I realized, because it's a marked knit along and I needed some green things and I hadn't finished anything green. I had plans of knitting my husband another pair of socks. The Treebeard socks that I think I talked about early on that are now in the resting in the hammock. But I didn't really ever get to pulling them back out, and I didn't think I could finish them in 2 weeks. Just because they're a little more complicated and I don't have that much time to do complicated things. Anyway, I whipped up a bookmark. This is it's called Loopy's Favorite Bookmark, and it's out of the Loopy You Solid series. It is green, I promise. It's a very light bluish green. It's really hard to see. Anyway, I got this as a small kit for ordering so much from the Loopy you reach different levels of rewards, and one of them was this kit along with some other things. So I got a little sample of the solid series, which I knit a lot of things out of, as you will see in the future, because they have great color selection and awesome stitch definition. So this is the little bookmark. It actually matched the cover of the book I was reading, which is kind of awesome. I'll talk about that in another episode. But it was really funny because I washed it and I pinned it out, and there must have been like 25 pins on each side. I think there's more pins in this than most things that I block. But I really wanted it to be straight, and I didn't feel like getting out the blocking wires. So that's it. And the test heel, this was something, I'm designing a series of socks based on the Avengers out of the Loopy You Solid series, which is why I have a lot of the Loopy You Solid series, because the colors were what I needed. And I designed a heel. I don't know if I really designed it, but I kind of combined a few heels. I love the simplicity of the wrap and turn heel, because you get to the heel and you just turn it. There's no gusset, there's no picking up stitches, there's all sorts of things. But what I realize is that sometimes it pulls over the top of the foot a little more than I'd like. So I thought, hey, I'll do a gusset short row heel. Actually, I kind of made this up on accident. I was trying to do a heel flap, and I didn't feel like looking up directions, so I half made it up, and I came up with this heel, which I'm turning the deep. I'm calling the deep pocket heel because it creates a very deep pocket. And I did it on a pair of footy socks, like short socks that are just above your ankle, that my boss wanted. But I didn't want them, falling over your heel. That's the problem with those little footy socks, is often they just, come into your shoe. So I wanted, lots of stitches around the heel to make sure that they didn't fall off. And it worked. She said they never fall down and they're great. So this is the heel. As you can see, it's just the heel. It is green. It's Kelly green. But I wrote up a pattern for the heel after I made it up. So you can see I did do some gusset increases here. And then I did the short row heel. And then I just did, knit two together SSK until I got back to the designated stitch count. And when I wrote this heel up, I was trying to do the math to figure out, how many times to do the gusset increases, then how many wrap and turn short rows to do, and then how many you had to pick up in order to get back to where you needed to be. And the first one I did was the Hulk sock, the Hulk smash socks. And my math was wrong. I sent it out to my test knitters and they came back saying, I followed your heel instructions and I had a lot less stitches than you said I should have. I just kind of fudged it and it worked. So I decided, you know what, I just need to test the heel out. So I just cast on the number of stitches I needed, did some ribbing for a little while so it wouldn't roll too bad. That's it, sorry. That's the problem with the heel, I don't know which way is up. But I did the gusset increases, I did the heel turn, and then I picked up stitches and I realized that I had done some funky math. And here, I can put it on for you. But it's just the heel. But it was a good test knit. It's a swatch, I guess you could call it, to check my math. And I'll probably use it to check gauge so I can put it on the pattern. But it was a good thing to do. I learned a lot, and gauge swatches are not terrible. It probably took me, you know, a few hours to knit it up, and it was a lot easier than trying to conceptualize it in my head. Now I have an actual swatch to count stitches on, so that makes things a lot easier. I'm sorry, I just realized that the fan is going. I'm going to see if I move that out from underneath it. I had the case underneath it, and that might be what's keeping it very warm. Okay, let's continue. That's all the things. Oh, I finished the toe-up ampersand socks. I finished them so long ago, I've worn them like 3 times to work. But I know I was just about to finish last time I recorded. I'm going to go get them. I just actually washed and blocked them again. So I could, because I wore them. But I'll be right back. I'll go get them to show you. Okay, I'm back. I got the socks. And here they are. Ta-da! So I finished them. I think I just had a little bit more of the ribbing to do. I finished them that night. And they're great. I did they're the Toe Up Ampersand by Bobby Craft out of Biscotti and C. Felix in Peturage. No idea if I'm pronouncing that right. I'm sorry. I did do some calf increases, if that's what you want to call them. On the back you can see that this section grows as it goes up. I just skipped some of the decreases basically in the middle, and it worked out quite well, and they fit fantastically. I did the fish lips kiss heel, and they're great. I love them. They fit very well, and they match for the most part. I was half a row off. The stripes were half a row off, so you'll notice that the front on this side, the stripes are basically half a row off. So the gray is in the back in one and on the front on another one. I started the bind off in different places so that I would end in the same amount of, I started at half a row apart so that they would end matching, because I like things to match. So those are the last thing I finished. Gosh, I finished a lot of things. There are a lot of really small things, but fun. Alright. Flora and fauna, the importance of the swatch. So, as I mentioned earlier, I'm knitting a sweater. I don't think you guys have seen any of it, because I knit it pretty quick. Anyway, this is my swatch. Ta-da! It's out of Cascade Superwash Sport in Jet, which is basically black. And it calls for a size 5, so I cast on a bunch of stitches, and I started, you know, I did some garter, and then I did some stockinette. Sorry, my nose is really itchy. On size 5, and then I decided, you know what, I have a bunch of stitches. I'm going to do the stockinette portion and try out the cable that goes up the front and then down the back of the sides of the sweater. And in doing that, I followed the chart that's in the book, and I realized that it wasn't quite right. So I looked on the project page on Ravelry, and sure enough, there was an errata, and the chart was wrong. It's just ever so slightly wrong. It's not a huge thing. It was some stitches that needed to be purled that were originally marked knit. And it's just a small little thing. Okay, I'm done itching my nose. But it was something I learned by knitting the swatch. And if I had been knitting the sweater, I would have had to rip out a bunch of rows, whereas on the swatch, it was like, well, whatever, I'll just keep going, it doesn't matter. So I knit on the size 5s for a while, and then I switched to a size 4, and I marked it with some purl ridges right here. So there's 4 purl ridges. And I knit on a size 4 for a while, and then I switched to a size 6, and then I knit for a while. So I did what it called for. I went size down, and then I went a size up, and I did the cable all the way up, which was good. I got to practice the cable, which was nice. And I washed and I blocked it, and discovered that my stitch gauge on the size 5 was perfect. So I went with the size 5. But my row gauge was 2 stitches off. It was supposed to be 32 and I had 34 stitches. So I had 2 more than it called for. But what I did was I modified the pattern so that I could accommodate for those 2 extra rows. Because it said to do the decreases every so many rows, and I just did them every 2 less than that, basically. And it worked out fine. So this is my swatch. It's nice and drapey, which I like. And the pattern is the Chimera cardigan by Amy Herzog out of the Knit to Flatter book. As you know, I had some sweater failures in my past, and I bought this book because everyone was raving about how it helps you knit a sweater that fits you. And it really does. There's a whole section in the beginning about, you know, your body type, how to figure out, you know, what your shape is and what things look good on you and how to modify things so that they fit you. There's a whole section about how to measure yourself, and, you know, so you can figure out what size to knit, you know, where to put the E's, things like that. There's different sweaters for different body types. There's a chart that helps you put down all your measurements. And then there's a ton of patterns for different body types. So this is the Chimera cardigan. Oops. There we go. Try to not get the glare. So you can see that cable pattern that goes up the front, and then it also goes down the back. And so there's a short sleeve and a long sleeve. I'm going to do the long sleeve version, but I highly recommend this book if you are newer to sweater knitting, or even if you're not and you just want to know more about sweater knitting. There's a lot of information in there. There's a lot of good patterns. It talks a lot about how to modify patterns so that they work for your body type. I happen to be a pear shape, so I'm really small through here, and then I have, you know, I do have a little hourglass, and then my hips are wider than my rib cage. And I also have a long torso, longish torso, you know, in terms of proportionality. So I needed to knit this, you know, the sweater a little longer so that it hits, you know, where normal people would have it hit. So that's the nice thing about knowing where to measure, because it tells you, you know, knit to 12 inches. And I'm thinking, no, I really want it 14 inches. So, you know, I just stretched it a little bit, and it's great. I finished the back of the sweater, and I washed and blocked it. Here it is. Ta-da! Oh, that's the back. You don't want to see the back. You want to see the front, the pretty part. So this is the back, and the reason I washed and blocked it is I knit the back, and I decided I wanted to wash and block it and make sure that it would fit me. So I just kind of, you know, held it against my back like this, about where it'll, if I can hold it correctly, you know, about where it'll be on my shoulders, and figuring out, you know, hey, will it fit, you know, to my armpits? Yep, that's a good length there. And how long is it? And oh yeah, that's a good length. And my husband agreed. So now I can continue to knit other parts of the sweaters, knowing that the modifications that I did were correct. Because I didn't want to knit the whole thing and then discover that it was too long or too short or not big enough around, and then have to rip out the whole thing. I'd rather just, you know, finish a section, wash and block it, make sure it's correct before moving on. So I am ready to cast on the fronts now. I wound the rest of the yarn, so I'm ready to go. and that's that. But I'm really happy I knit that swatch. It probably took me, 2 hours, if that, and it really wasn't a big deal. I used to be in the club of people that hated knitting swatches because why did I have to do that? It's an extra step. I just want to knit the thing, and it's just annoying. But I discovered there's a lot of value in knitting the swatch and trying out the pattern, the stitch pattern, to see how you like it in that yarn. When I was first, getting into knitting, I had a lot of problems with matching the yarn with the project. I had this project that I really wanted and this yarn that I really wanted to do it in. Unfortunately, those two did not go together. It was too bulky a yarn for it to work with that project. I didn't have the right needle size, and just nothing was working. Eventually I did, get over the fact that I really wanted it to be in this yarn, and I found another yarn. Hi, welcome back after that short pause. It was a longer pause for me than it was for you. My program decided to freeze and therefore cut off the last few minutes of my recording. So I was pretty much done. I was just sharing about swatching, and it's really not a big deal, and you should really just do it. It helps you learn a lot. It helps you get used to the yarn and the fabric and the stitch pattern. And because I was talking about how you have to pair projects or patterns with yarn, because some work and some don't. I did learn that early on through that one project. I eventually just, gave up with that combination and ended up finding a much better combination. It was the same project, obviously, but different yarn. Totally different drape, totally different fabric, and it works perfectly. I'll show you that project one day. Anyway, it was just something I learned early on, and, knitting, it was a small project. It was a cowl, so it wasn't, a huge time investment, but it was definitely, I had to rip it out quite a few times. But for bigger projects, it's definitely worth swatching. For sweater, whether or not it's just casting on the sleeve, but often sleeves you knit in the round, so you have to do a swatch the way you're going to knit the item. This sweater happens to be knit in pieces flat, so I knit the swatch flat. Anyway, that's really it that I had to share. The sun went down, so you have room lighting versus window lighting, which is why it's a little different. But actually, I've discovered this light doesn't look so bad, so maybe I'll record out here instead of in the bedroom, because I feel that might be better. And I have a table here, and I don't have to crawl over things. It's easier setup out here, basically. Anyway, with that, I will sign off, and I hope you have a great week, and I do plan to record next Monday, unless things go terribly wrong. Or maybe I'll record Sunday. We'll see when I have more time. It kind of depends if Jeremy's here or not. If he's here, we ended up doing other things. If he's not here, then I have the evening to myself to record and clean and things like that. So we'll see. But thanks for putting up with my technical difficulties, and I will see you soon. Bye!